All right.
Hi,
All
Cesar.
Hi,
right.
Toby.
Hmm.
Basta.
Hello. Okay, good
Afternoon.
afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I think we can start. Our two guests are here. My name again is Didi Trivigo from Ateneo de Manila University.
Kasi
And,
hindi naman opening na
and
pa.
with us today are Dr. Fabian David, Toby, and Dr. Cesar Villanoy, or also known as Boss K. And this is
KK.
our actually our second session of this informal conversation. The title of the conversation is Fun Facts or Tito Tita Advice about grant application and management. And I mentioned that joining us also is Dr. Arnel Okay, who is going to help me with with just monitoring the chats and the attendance. Um, just to kick things off, the reason for the motivation behind these little sort of conversations is really to try to encourage our younger researchers to pursue grant funding to grow their research practice. And during the first uh, conversation, we talked a little about the different types of funding bodies. We gave some tips about how to prepare the grant application and what to expect during the presentation to the funder. So this time, we're now at the second step, which is let's assume that you are close to getting your grant or you have your grant already. And both Dr. V and Dr. Villenoy have extensive experience in managing grants, both from the Philippines and from other countries. And so maybe let's hear, I think they have a lot of wisdom to share. So um, the first question I'd like to ask is at what point do you set up your project team? And my context for asking this is that it because I've been caught in this situation myself, but you cannot hire anyone until your grant money comes in. But at the same time, you need to recruit the right people who may also be looking for other jobs in industry or in other labs. So how do you balance that tension? How do you get people in this limbo stage where you don't quite have the money yet, but you know it's coming? So yeah, either of you can answer.
Yeah, Cesar, sige, why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, siguro in my case, kasi sa amin, we have a quite large graduate program. So we have this pool of graduate students and uh, and that are ready and willing to work in research projects, no. So so may advantage yung may associated na graduate program. Pero yun, um, that's always the dilemma. Usually money from funding agencies are almost always delayed. Um, so you would have to hire whoever you can once the money comes in. And hindi lang yung problema. It's very common usually in projects funded by the government na pati salaries ng yung hinahire mong research assistants and researchers often get delayed. And yung iba nakakatiis, yung iba hindi. So, um, so yun, I think having a, a graduate program within the institute helps. Kasi you get a lot of people who are also interested in the things that you're doing.
So we
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Of course, in case of Ateneo, you have undergrads and grads. And then, well, you teach. So you try to input your interest and passion in the teaching that you do. So hindi lang, you digress and say what you're doing. So you can interest students in certain topics. And well, if they're graduate students, then and they're DUST scholars, may funding na yan. So right off, the you can start with what they have. But I guess the basic message is parang try to build an ecosystem of students, not just students, also faculty that share the same common interest that you can collaborate. Kasi pwede namang other faculty might have access to funds that you don't. So if everyone shares their interest, then you have seminars and you discuss topics, and then from that you can generate some, let's just call it internal heat that people are interested in doing something, and then you look for funding when it's ripe. That more or less you basically it's matching, of course, your interest with the priorities of the funding agency. Kasi well, yung mga funding agencies natin yung DOST may priorities na yan eh. So then you have to target, match those. Ang CHED, unfortunately, is a bit opaque. I don't, papalit-palit ang ano kasi ng CHED. So it's a bit more difficult. And that's really yung, choice talaga ng student yun. You have very little control over that. So I guess those should be the what you do in terms of, being able to hire, attract students. Of course, you need to have a lot of, you have to influence more students than you think you need. Kasi ngayon, like it or not, it's become easier for good students to get scholarships overseas. So kahit na, kahit na willing to work here, syempre mas attractive yung pumunta ka sa yeah, so actually a lot of students do leave. There's more than half students, if they had the choice of doing a master's or a PhD, and there's an opportunity abroad, they'll go abroad.
And I
Mas
appreciate, sorry, Boske, go ahead.
mas 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 madali daw mag-aral sa labas kaysa dito.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yan.
Actually, maybe I know this is somewhat controversial, but how do you convince them to come back? I mean, I'm all for people studying abroad and getting, fresh ideas from other labs, other mentors, but how do we attract them? How do we convince them to come back and work here?
Well, I think if we have the right research environment, uh, there are a lot of attractions for them to come back. There's a need for PhD level researchers in the country, and we're not producing enough. So merong market for that. Pero some of the young scientists that we've talked to, nadidismaya dahil sa mga administrative constraints pa. Buying a small piece of item takes a lot of administrative work compared to what they're used to in other countries. So kaya nga the admin support ng institute is very important.
Boske, can I jump off from that point? You talked about admin support. What kind of admin support do we need in order to manage our grants?
Well, mostly related to purchasing and procurement of equipment. You already probably know about the difficulties with the government procurement now, where we buy equipment from overseas at twice the price and takes twice longer to procure. Um, so it helps if you have um, um, a dedicated admin personnel within the project. I think the OST recognizes this already, and they allow projects to hire admin project personnel to handle the administrative matters. Kasi kung if you don't have that, a lot of the your time and time of your research assistants or your researchers are spent doing admin work. Um, so if you have a dedicated admin person, um, that frees them to do their research. And in our lab, we have one admin person to handle all our projects, and she's the most important person in the lab.
Toby, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, well, I think the ano naman the administrative ano is not as serious. I know it's difficult in mga ano mga state college universities. So it's not as serious, but it's still there. You have to know the rules and the guidelines. And at least in our case, in a way, when they set up Arise, it takes up that responsibility of
Um,
looking to.
Toby, I think you have to explain what Arise
Yeah,
is.
well, Arise is the just set up about 4 or 5 years ago, and it basically handles well, it promotes tries to get together mga research projects, but also provides the administrative support for like what Cesar mentioned, yung mga those who take care of the paperwork, yung mga rules like ilang quotations ang kailangan, and yung liquidation. And so both the internal and the external, kasi of course internally, each institution has its own guidelines that you have to follow. And then externally, yung funding agency, sundan mo kung ano yung hinihingi ng funding agency tsaka yung kanilang deadlines. So anyway, it picks up on some of that work, which is similar to what Cesar mentioned. So it really is the same function. So that's a big assistance so that you can focus more on the actual research and not worry about the financials and other administrative stuff.
So when you have the grant and it's ongoing, one of the things that I personally notice is that okay, when I apply for the UST grant, it's almost like you have to know how it's going to end, or you have to know what your result is going to be before you even do the research. And that's kind of been a struggle because there's very little room to pivot. Like if you find that a particular track is not really productive and I feel sometimes like I don't have the opportunity to change track or to recalibrate because we had already promised a certain outcome. And I was wondering if you had been in similar situations and how you manage that situation.
Well, no, of course, those things happen, no? Pwedeng I mean, in the case, let's say, I do work on coconut. Um, Sometimes you're still doing the analysis, no? But then something more interesting comes up, or maybe sometimes the hypothesis you made initially is not really as good, and something is better. Ano naman, I think ngayon naman may leeway naman ng DOST that you tell them na you're changing ang gusto na makita na what you're replacing is equal to what you left behind. Kasi I think you have to understand from the point of view of DOST, kinukuha rin sila. So tinitignan ng COA, ito yung pinangako ng project, katapos napalitan, ba't kayo pumayag ganon? Kasi I also hear the well, I wouldn't call it complaints, the comments of di ba they assign a project manager for your project. So you also have to, in a sense, help them meet their own needs kasi they have to defend this to their bosses. So kung ano ito, kung PCHRD project, they have to defend this to to Montoya, and then Montoya has to defend it to COA, parang ganon. So may leeway naman, but you just have to justify why you're changing um, the specific objectives. Kasi actually yung 6 piece ngayon, 7 piece na eh. Totoo lang mo. Mabigat yung 7 piece kasi daming isipin. Pero ayun, ano naman, kung wala namang patent, sabihin mo naman simula, wala naman talagang patent dyan. So, ano naman, nakikinig naman. So, siguro huwag nang matakot sa dun sa mga mga ganon. Just be clear with what the situation is. And ano naman, a lot of times man they'll agree. Yun na nga, mas stress ka. It's just additional stress basically.
Boss K?
Uh, well, tama naman si Toby na if you have a multi-year project sa DOST, every year you have to, when you renew your project, you have to go defend your projects again. Pag nagbago yung results and you need to change uh, ibahin yung objectives mo, then I think they understand naman na some of this has to be done. So nakikinig din naman ang
Actually, lalo siguro sa iyo, Cesar, kasi kung binagyo, na-delay,
oh,
na-delay yung trabaho mo ng isang buwan kung
hindi naman,
binagyo pa.
hindi mo
Actually, mahirap
mapilit.
mahirap ang environmental ang conditions mo eh.
Oh, mm.
So, yeah, I think they have they have a more difficult job.
We're talking a lot about grant funding from the UST, but could you maybe give a perspective comparing DOC or local grants against international grants? Because I know, for example, Bosque has had grants from the Office of Naval Research. So parang how do the policies of the different grant bodies differ? And parang what's the impact on project management?
Yeah, masarap ang ONR funding. They're very relaxed. Yeah, basically give you uh, uh, a lot of flexibility in how you manage your funds. No? Um, our international funding goes through hindi na siya, it goes through our foundation, no? Well, ang institute has its own foundation, so all our international funding goes through there. And may sariling set of accounting rules yung foundation, so we just follow that. Uh, uh, Unless may specific na rules ang binibigay ang funding agency, then we just stick to the foundation's rule, which is basically follows just industry standard for private companies. So mas madali ang internationally funded projects. So maganda kung you have a mix of both. Meron kang locally funded projects, meron kang international funding or kahit private funding. Kasi from our experience, kung gusto mo talaga mga big ticket equipment, DOST na makakapagbigay nun. But for other stuff, if you want a lot of flexibility sa research, maganda din na meron kang international or external funding.
But how does one even get access to international funding? I mean, like for young researchers, where do you begin to find these opportunities?
Um, well, you start building your network of international collaborators, potential collaborators. If you attend international conferences, you'll meet a lot of them, and you can start forming, getting to know people with the same interests. Maraming like in our field in marine science, maraming international scientists who's interested in doing work in Philippine waters. So that's how we got the ONR funding.
Toby, any
Yeah,
thoughts?
well, actually, that's true. It really depends on the field of study. Like, well, I also ako chair nung sa MO. So atmospheric climate is it's I wouldn't say it's easy, but maraming nakukuhang mas maraming opportunities kasi global ang ang tinutukoy mo. Um, maybe 15, 20 years ago, there was a lot of interest in environmental work by collaborators, and they would fund environmental work, in particular related to environmental chemistry sa Pilipinas. But then over the past almost 20 years, I've been focusing mainly on local I mean, coconut is Philippine, medicinal plants is Philippines. So that's what I'm, and so the international funding sources for that kind of work is not as wide as if you're doing climate or, marine science na may ano. So it really depends on the field. But still it helps to be participating in international conferences where you can meet groups. About 20, 30 years ago, maraming pera yun ng JSPS, tsaka I mean, British Council, they had funds for doing medicinal plants eh. Ngayon wala na eh. Dati meron yung sa UNESCO. But now those aren't around anymore. So nag-iba na yung situation for those fields. So yeah, to make a long story short, your access to international funds really depends on the field of of study. So you just have to have antennas up to see, what are potential interests in international work. Um, yun. Yeah, so it really depends on the field of study.
Okay. Can I push on the on that a little bit? Because what I noticed when some people I know who shall be unnamed when they go to conferences, they don't actually take the opportunity to network. I don't know if it's that they're shy or they would prefer to go sightseeing or parang the way they view a conference is they go, they present their paper, and then they do their thing. They don't listen to anyone else's paper. They don't ask any questions. They don't sit with anybody else for lunch. So could you give some advice about how to take advantage of these venues? I mean, there's a right way, I think, to use these venues, and maybe it would be good if you could share some of your thoughts.
Uh, well, sa akin is you go to conferences to learn. Um, that's the only place where you can learn about uh, people's work in such a short time, in just a few days. No? Kumpara mo to reading journals, mabuti kung makabasa ka ng one paper in a week. No? But it's easier to listen to presentations at the conferences, and that's how you learn about ano yung state of the art of your research field. No? So sayang yung opportunity kung pupunta ka lang doon pag-present and then mamasyal na. Extend mo na lang after the conference, saka ka na lang mamasyal.
Yeah, yeah, actually naman, um, malalaman naman ng mga ibang conference participants kung pumunta ka lang doon para mag-present tapos magturista eh. I mean, anyway, parang it should be your responsibility. Parang binigyan ka ng how many? 50, 60, 70,000 pesos to go abroad. Tapos nag-present ka lang pagkatapos umalis ka na. Anyway, you really should stay and listen.
And then how do you start the conversation? So okay, you listen to the
It's like
paper.
just making friends.
Yeah, tayo
But it's
mahirap.
common interest naman yan eh.
And
At
they,
saka, I think they appreciate it, yung mga experts, they appreciate it if you go up to them and tell them, I don't understand what you did. Can you tell me more about it? actually gusto nila yun eh kasi this guy's interested or hindi siya mayabang. He wants to learn from you. Ano yun? That's a big plus.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've met some of my closest collaborators through conferences as well. But I think um, uh, my experience has been if you join them, let's say for lunch or during the coffee breaks, that was actually quite helpful. You could have conversations during those meals. Food is always good. Okay,
Meron,
now
meron,
go ahead.
meron
Good.
pa silang poster sessions na may free beer. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Actually, the poster sessions are, iba yung poster session doon saka dito eh. Dito parang kung nag-poster session mo, parang second class ang presentation mo. Pero doon, they take it seriously.
yeah,
At saka may,
maybe
may beer, saka so, may mixer, so okay lang.
I think could you elaborate a little about that and like what is the poster session and why do you say they take it more seriously in certain conferences?
Yeah, well, I mean, ganun nga. So they have poster sessions and then uh, yung, well, they give snacks and and you just stand there and I guess of course you attract people who are curious about what you're doing and you just an opportunity to discuss and yung iba naman they also join that kasi libre yung dinner so, so yeah everyone wants to save money but it's an opportunity to talk. And sometimes you actually talk to your neighbors yung mga ibang co-presenters mo tapos magkwentuhan kayo. So you just don't address who comes around to ask you. You yourself, you can actually go and ask the neighboring posters, tell me about your work.
at saka yung mga oral presentations, you're only given a few minutes for questions, and pero
Oo.
posters, you have more time to entertain.
Yeah.
Yes.
So once you have these collaborators, or let's say you're able to build that network, you get it up to the point where you are going to um, actually, let's say, submit a grant together. What are some of the maybe do's and don'ts of collaborating with scientists from other countries, and maybe some of the pitfalls as well that we should look out for?
Well, of course, it depends on where the money is coming from, no? Sometimes it helps. In fact, a lot of times it helps if you can both agree that you're interested in a certain thing and you're from two different countries. So it becomes parang international collaboration. But if kung hindi naman siya, let's say, you're collaborating for someone from whatever, Thailand or India, ang understand yan, parang kanya-kanya yung funding dun sa lugar. But then when you go to your funding agency sa DOC, sabi mo ito, this is a collaboration. Actually, there are many opportunities for that sa Taiwan kasi they promote that type of collaboration. So it depends on where the money is coming from. But even locally, if you can convince the DOC that this is may international they're more receptive to proposals like those.
Okay.
Well, siguro when having collaborations with scientists from other countries, importante is wag magpalamang. There's a there's a term for that, yung tinatawag nilang parachute science. Ang local collaborator nagkolekta ng data but ang publications hindi ka nakasali, ganun. So maganda kung even at the very beginning involved na kahit sa conceptualization pala, involved
Yeah.
na ang local na collaborator.
It's funny that you should say that because I was just wondering about, isn't there an asymmetry that we experience? Because, for example, let's just say for the sake of argument, the grant is, 1 million pesos. There's a counterpart funding of 1 million dun sa international collaborator. The 1 million pesos in a first world country is not going to buy you very much research time versus here, you can pay for 3 RAs for a year already with 1 million pesos. So how do you manage that? Because your collaborator abroad can only devote like a limited number of hours, versus here you would have like full-time people for the same amount of money.
Yung one of the things na we get from collaborations with other countries is yung capacity building ng local scientists. Kahit konti lang yung ating pwede maibigay na counterpart funds, but we can get people trained in their labs using learn new methods using their facilities. So very interested din naman sila ng ganun, no? They're also very willing to help out in training young scientists. So um, kahit wala nga counterpart funding eh. Minsan all the funding is coming from outside, pero yun. And in a lot of cases, some of the local trained young researchers get scholarships and end up earning degrees from the collaborating institutions.
Toby, any thoughts?
Yeah, that's really case to case. What we can offer and then what funding they're offering and um well in the case of medicinal plants, yung mainit lang naman doon yung yung genetic resources that you don't give it away or so it really case to case depends on the research project.
So moving back to the project management, so internally, what are some of the problems that you've experienced with managing personnel? So, and what prompts this question is that I heard from a person from another university during the pandemic was saying that because nobody could come to work, one of their RAs had to bring the computer home, and the computer had all their data. So at some point, the data was held hostage because the RA couldn't go to work, the project lead couldn't get the data, and there was this like standoff. So, what are some of the what's this? Yeah, what are some of the challenges in managing personnel, and how do you actually cope with the challenges?
Uh, well, sa one of the uh, problems with um, research projects at the moment is that hindi malinaw ano yung status ng research assistants. Kasi ang contract nila is parang no employer-employee relationship. But you're treating them as employees. So meron ding mga issues dyan, no? They don't get full benefits, they don't get uh, wala nga silang uh, on paper, wala silang leave benefits. So I hope ma-address yun. Matagal na rin problema yan eh. And so minsan wala silang magawa kundi umalis kasi the conditions are very difficult. So it's a continuing problem. So we just uh, try to manage it the best way we can. Kasi hindi mo rin sila ma-force because conditions are not very good for them then.
Maybe- maybe
Yeah,
thoughts.
well, but from what I understand, and this was a long time ago when I asked about how they set the rates for yan, mga RA. Ang sabi nila, and this was then, I don't know if it's still now, na in general, mas mataas yung rate, uh, yung take-home salary for a RA than a regular employee. Kasi ang expectation is the RA is supposed to cover their own, ganun, yung mga insurance and stuff. And that was what was explained to me before. But now I don't know if that situation has changed. But I guess still from the point of view of the of the university, um, kasi maano sila ng labor kasi di ba yung labor laws if an employee if person's your employee for more than 6 months, na yan, permanent na yan. So yun ang problema doon. So in a way, dapat mapaliwanag yun dun sa right off at the beginning na the RAs are really temporary positions. And but I don't know if it's true, but na yung sweldo niya is mas mataas kasi it's not a permanent position. So wala ka ng mga whatever, if it's SSS or PhilHealth or GSIS or whatever. Um, sa iyo na yun. Parang, sabi nila, it's built into the total package. Parang take home mo na yun eh. So siguro yun ang hindi kailangan din nawin. But yan, because of labor laws, talagang they have to say na hindi ka empleyado ng although of course they still give some benefits as working in the university, pero hindi ka empleyado ng ng institution.
When
Yung,
the
yung
Sige,
rates,
go ahead.
yung rates ng DOST, I think every year ina-update nila yun. And nandun nga yun, it's I think 20% higher ang
Yeah,
rates ng DOST compared to say UP
yeah,
rates for the same salary grade. Yeah.
yeah. So siguro mabuting malinaw na mataas yan, pero bahala ko dun sa mga dun sa mga yun, yung mga saving for the future, yung mga ganun.
No, and I
Um,
don't think it includes 13th month in
walang
the
third
rates.
month. In fact, kasama yan. Kasama yan sa kaya mas mataas. Kasi
Mhm.
kasama yung 13th month doon.
Yeah. And then I noticed also, like when we apply for the UST grants, the compensation rates for the project lead are
Ah,
also quite modest. And I
ay,
remember before I was talking to an international collaborator, and she was trying to ask me, do your grants in the Philippines allow you to buy release time so that you don't have to teach so much and you can just focus more time on research? And I said, no, I don't think they do. So I
well,
mean, what is the rationale for having a very small compensation for the
ay,
project leads?
actually, ang project leader sa DOST, Labor of Love yan. It's been 8,800 for 50 years.
And kwan pa yan, if you have a 1 million peso grant, you get 8,800. If you have a 50 million peso grant, you get the same amount.
Tama yan.
But the amount of work na ginagawa mo doon, magkaiba.
Oo. Kung if you handle a program, tataas ng konti. I don't know, 1, 2
Ay,
or something.
1,000.
Yeah. Pero it's not commensurate to the So, in fact, kung tutusin mo, it's really the universities that are subsidizing DOST. Kasi sila magdideload dun sa kailangan mo ng half load o kailangan isang course na tinuturuan mo. Yung university ang nagbabayad ng oras mo.
Yeah.
So it's up to the university to sort of provide that kind of counterpart.
Well,
I mean,
Sige, sige.
actually may lalagay kasi may column dun sa project na university counterpart eh. So dun nilalagay. But that's, in a sense, that's on paper.
yeah.
Ang ang bottom line for the researchers, magkano ba ang nakukuha mo na nag ano ka ng 5 project na hindi ka na natutulog pero 8,800 ang iyong honorarium. And it's been that way for the past 20 years.
Every time nga sila maglalabas ng bagong rate for the researchers, lagi kong tinatanong, wala ba yung mga increase din ng project leaders?
Oo. Actually, 888, ang mababa na yun. Dapat ano eh. So, it's actually fair kung sinabi, ano, this amount of work is, worth 3 units. So, kahit na, whatever, bigyan ko siya. Basta, hindi, it's not fair.
Okay, so, but what is the rationale for that? I mean, there must be a reason, right? Or
Ano yan? If you need it, kasi, labor of love yan eh.
okay, so that's okay.
Ganun lang talaga yan, labor of love yan. May pera. Actually, yung iba naman, may pera, may estudyante. Kailangan ko naman mag-project para yung estudyante ko may magawang thesis o magandang
Yeah.
ano. So, sabi mo, "Oh, sige, I'll do this project." Pero hanggang doon lang ang iyong compensation.
Mhm. Okay. Um, and then as again, parang calling back to something that we were talking about, actually Bosque was talking about, yung about purchasing equipment. Because, many of us require equipment sometimes from abroad. Like, what is the usual process that makes it so difficult to 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 do the purchasing?
Um, well, from what I know dito from state university, um, or even other government procurement, kung bibili tayo ng instrument overseas, it's very difficult to buy directly. You have to go through a local uh, broker, call that, or a local distributor, and that jacks up the price. You almost pay double the price compared to buying it directly. Um, uh, in the 1990s, hindi ganun eh. We could buy direct from overseas. We just need a quotation for them, and then we pay them using a letter of credit, and then dadating na. So so um, you make uh, 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 mas sulit yung limited funds mo eh, no? You can you can buy two for the price. Sa ngayon um, kasi like for instance sa UP dapat VAT exempt pag any imports na i-import ng UP VAT exempt, exempted din sa duties, customs duties. But if you go through a local distributor, ang local distributor ang mag-i-import. So they pay the duties, they pay the taxes, and then they pass it on to UP. So kaya lumalaki yung amount. And then when something happens to the equipment, hindi man very familiar yung broker na yun sa equipment na yun. So you have to send it back uh, abroad. Um, that's another set of headaches. Once you have the equipment, you have it recalibrated or repaired overseas, another set of problems na naman yun. Sa procurement namin, they want everything to go through bidding. So even the repair, so paano mo paano mo malalaman kung ano yung i-repair when you haven't sent out the equipment yet to the supplier? So, papadala mo yon, may quotation na sila na anong i-repair. Tapos, ipapabid out. So, sino, sino, sino na ngayon ang mag-entertain ng bid na yon? So, it's a lot of problems. Hopefully, I haven't read the new procurement law. Um, I think lumabas na rin yung implementing rules and regulations niya. Hopefully, it will be easier particularly for research institutions to buy scientific equipment.
What, how do you manage the project when there are delays in procurement? Because presumably we can't continue the research if we don't have our equipment. So what do we do? Do we freeze, or is there a workaround?
Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes 1 year in delay na buying equipment eh. So it's a big problem. Yeah.
no, it's really a big problem. Parang isang taon halos wala kang ano eh, mapapangakong output eh. Kung talagang kailangan mo yung equipment. So, in a way, you have to, well, if the project will allow it, you anticipate that meron kang ibang output for the first year na hindi mo kailangan yung equipment. And then, hopefully, it will come in the second year. Meron, ano, pero ang downside nun, lalong magbabalon yung project mo kasi dami kang ano eh, wasted time eh. Well, call it, let's say, unused time na naghihintay ka lang. Um, yeah, that's the way it is. Eh.
Right. And what about how flexible are grants when it comes to travel? So this connects back again to joining conferences and using the opportunities for networking. Where can we, uh, yeah, how do we find this funding? How do we find the travel grants, and or our current existing grants flexible enough to allow for travel?
Usually, you build that in sa budget ng proposals mo pa lang eh. So, you build in the travel for conferences. And okay naman ang DOST doon. In fact, mas maluwag nga ngayon mag-international travel kaysa local travel. And per diem rates, they follow the UN rate. So, medyo generous. So, um, okay naman ang DOST with international travel for conferences.
Yeah, the things have improved naman.
We have about 10 minutes left, and I wanted to give the people in the room an opportunity to ask questions. Does anyone want to ask either Bosque or Linto B any questions? Or would you like to share what grants you've already been a part of that might have had some challenges or problems? Okay, while we're waiting for people to think of their questions, I just learned recently that Donald Trump issued an executive order that put a hold on the international partnerships or the funding. So were either of you affected by that? Was any of your work affected by that?
Foreign aid.
Yeah,
Mm.
mhm.
Yeah, we're not directly affected. Meron lang kami mga colleagues who's involved in projects na funded by USAID.
Hmm.
So, sabi sa kanila is pause daw muna for 90 days. So,
Like in a case like that, what do you do as a project manager? So you pause for 90 days, pero I mean, do you retain your people? Do you go on forced leave? I mean, what happens?
dapat may plan B ka.
This wasn't anticipated.
Yeah,
So,
what would
like, kung marami kang, if you have multiple projects, pwedeng pool ng resources to sustain kung ano yung makakailangan, like particularly salaries ng mga tao.
Yeah, salaries magiging problema yan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually, that is one thing that I always worry about whenever I have a grant. Parang if you have, let's say, we're talking about multi-year projects and you have to wait for year two funding, year three funding, and there's a gap. Yeah, what do you what are some of the ways that project managers can sustain their people during these gaps?
Yung, ang laking tulong ng having a foundation. So our foundation, we can actually borrow bridging funds from the foundation to pay for essential items like salaries. No? And then it gets repaid once the research funds come in. So malaking tulong ang having a foundation. And I think maraming institutions na mayroong mga ganong setup.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Alex Hernandez. Alex, did you want to read your question?
Hi, good afternoon po, Doc Didi, Doc Cesar, and Doc Fabian. So I posted my question. So this is about how do you address performance issues with a project lead, particularly when they are struggling with aspects like communication, time management, and team coordination.
Ito you're talking about the project leader, no?
Yes, per.
So you're the RA.
I'm part of the team po.
You're part of the team. Well,
As a researcher po.
Sa akin, well, if I were, I would just remind yung objectives at deadlines. Kasi that's the only thing you can really, I mean, of course you have to handle it, with great care. But that's what's written, eh. The objectives of the project are this, and then ito yung timelines. We have to get something done by first quarter. And then, I guess, hopefully, they get the message. So, pag-aralan mo yung deliverables.
Tulungan mo rin.
Kaya tulungan, baka mas magaling mag-time management, volunteer mo na lang.
Thank you, sir.
Kaya yun ang nakasulat eh. So, siya nakapirma dun eh. So, may tindihan niya na kailangan makuha yung, at least yun ang bare minimum is you meet the deliverables. And hopefully they get the message naman. And then, if magaling ka naman ata mag-manage ng just suggest lang na anong magagawa mo na na mapapaganda yung trabaho.
Is it an option to go to a higher authority? Like if to a department chair or a dean, or let's say an institute director, is that too much of a challenge?
No, don't do it until it's really necessary. Mahirap yan.
Try to resolve it among yourselves muna before elevating it.
Okay. Are there other questions from the group? Maybe the other okay, let me flip this question around a little. What do you do when you have RAs that are underperforming?
Kaya yung mas madali yung kung ikaw yung supervisor.
Okay.
Yung kasapin na lang ng mabuti. Of course, the difficulties kaya mo naman yung kanilang psychological ba? Kasi maraming iba yung Gen Z eh. Ibang kanilang needs eh. So, I suggest, ask for advice from other people who are familiar with that, and then so you can approach. Kasi I think you have to know how they take criticism or pareho ko iba dun sa mga tulad ni Cesar na pwede mong diretsuin.
Actually, no, because I think the struggle with it, what I personally have had is that sometimes you are actually relying on them for output, right? And it's not easy, especially when you have deadlines, deliverables, you have a third quarter report due, and you need to have shown, this much data collection, this many results. Um, it's and so much is resting on, let's say, this one person or these two people. So if they're not performing, like, how do you know that? Yeah, what do you do? I mean, do you tell your funder that?
No, no, you don't talk to your funder. You sort it out within the group.
Yeah. No, I mean, in terms of not being able to deliver
Ano,
the,
hindi mo pwede sabihin sa funder mo, yung RA mo, hindi nagtatrabaho. Mahirap yun.
yeah. And then internally, so, sige, boss, kayo, go ahead.
Oh, tama naman na. Responsibilidad mo yun eh. So try to work it out with the individual. Baka naman meron siyang pinagdadaanan.
Yata, ito yun.
Yeah, when do you know that it's time to swap that person out with someone else?
Uh, Siguro in some of the cases that sa amin is tinatanong lang namin kung willing pa ba siya mag-continue. Uh, and kung wala talaga yung interest niya doon, then voluntarily naman sila
Yeah.
let go.
Okay. Okay. We have like another last few minutes, so last call for questions. Like, parang wala. Dr. V, Doc Cesar, maybe can we just ask you maybe for one last uh some last words of encouragement for our young researchers? Like, what do you want them to know about this brave world of research and grant
Uh, yeah.
management?
So it's not uh, it's not an easy road, no? Doing research, no, maraming hurdles, but meron ding rewards, and I think the rewards outnumber the hurdles, no? So if you run into problems, just uh, try to find ways to solve it. Yun naman ang research eh, problem solving eh. So practice mo rin doon sa part na yun. And um, also remember na that you're doing a great service to the country, doing good research.
Dr. V?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you have to have a real, interest and passion for what you're doing, and then, yeah, it's really, I mean, those who do research are those who really want to find out, and contribute to the field, to society, um, and yeah, it's important that, yung emotional intelligence is actually, important kasi, for many people, maybe out of 3 or 4 projects, baka isa lang yung ma-approve yun eh. And that's not always. So, yun. And then maybe the second advice I would, is try to get to know personally yung mga, people in DOST. Kasi find out what their, is also their what things attract them, what are their limitations. Also, you should try to get to know yung project manager, na kung minsan kasi ngayon, everything's by internet eh. Just exchange, if you have a chance to meet them, try to get to know them also. So they can tell you naman na kung ano yung, but this maybe guide you along. Kasi in the end, they're all people, they have their jobs to do. So you have to understand also what they need to to accomplish. And if your project and their accomplishments match up, tutulungan ka naman dun eh.
Okay. Thank you both very much for your time. Thank you to everyone who joined us. And we hope that you'll join us again in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, please let's give Doc Toby and Doc Villanoy a round of applause, virtual.
Sige, salamat.
Sige. Thank you both, Boss K, Toby. Thank you so much. And thank you.
Bakit Baske
Thank you,
ang
Doc.
pangalan mo? Cesar?
Ewan ko.